Picture this. You've finally done the responsible thing. You opened a savings account, and every single month you move money into it. $100 here, $200 there. Some months even more. You feel good about it. Responsible, disciplined, like you're finally getting your financial life together. But then one Tuesday afternoon, you open your banking app just to check, and something hits you. You've got $10,000 sitting in that savings account. $10,000. And it earned you $50 last year. $50. After 12 months of doing everything right, meanwhile, everywhere you look, people are talking about investing, index funds, compound growth, S&P 500, and you start asking yourself a question that nobody around you seems to have a clean answer to. Wait, am I doing this wrong? Here's the thing, you're not doing it wrong, but you're not done yet. Because saving money is the foundation, but foundations don't build themselves into houses. And that gap, the gap between someone who saves and someone who actually invests, is often the difference between financial comfort and real financial freedom. So in this video, we're going to walk through the exact step-by-step path that takes you from saving to investing without blowing up your financial security or losing sleep over market crashes. No complicated jargon, no get-rich-quick promises. Just the real math, the real psychology, and a plan that actually works. My name is Dave, and I spend way too much time thinking about saving psychology, investment strategy, and the mental traps that keep people stuck at step 1. If you're someone who has money sitting in a savings account right now but isn't quite sure how to start putting it to work, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps things click. Let's start with something that sounds almost controversial. Saving money alone will almost never make you wealthy. Now hear me out. Because I'm not saying saving is bad, saving is essential, but saving is a defensive move. It protects what you already have. Investing is an offensive move. It creates what you don't have yet, and those are two completely different jobs with two completely different outcomes. Let's look at the actual math for a second. Say you've got $10,000 in a typical savings account earning 1% interest. After 1 year, you've got $10,100. Fine. Not exciting, but fine. Now compare that with investing. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned around 10% per year on average over long stretches. Same $10,000 earning 10% annually, after 1 year you've got $11,000. That's a $900 difference in year 1. Still not jaw-dropping. But here's where most people don't realize the real story. Compounding doesn't look impressive at first. It looks boring. And then suddenly it doesn't. After 20 years, that $10,000 in savings at 1% becomes about $12,200. After 20 years, that same $10,000 invested at 10% becomes roughly $67,000. Same starting money, same person, completely different outcome. That's not a small gap. That's a life-changing gap. And this is where it gets really interesting. The biggest wealth gap in America isn't usually between people who spend and people who save. It's between people who save and people who invest. Think about that for a second. Two people, same income, same discipline, same monthly savings habit. One puts their money in a savings account, one puts their money in a diversified index fund. Give them 25 years. One has a safety net, the other has options, real options. The kind that let you make choices on your own terms. But here's the thing most people miss. Most people never make that transition from saving to investing. And the reason isn't math, the math is simple. The reason is psychology. Saving feels safe because you can see your money. It sits there. It doesn't drop 5% on a random Tuesday afternoon because someone in Washington said something weird. Your savings account doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't give you heart palpitations. But investments move. They go up and they go down. And that emotional roller coaster scares people off before they ever give compounding a real chance. Now you might be thinking, okay Dave, but what if I start investing and the market tanks right away? Totally fair question. And it's exactly why I want to walk through this as a step-by-step process. Not a leap, not a plunge, not a throw everything at the stock market and pray situation. Stages, manageable, logical stages. There's also something important we need to address first. Something the typical investing video glosses over completely. A lot of people never make it to investing not because they don't understand it, but because after rent, utilities, groceries, car payments, and everything else life throws at them, there's simply nothing left. And no 5-step investing framework fixes an expense problem. So before we get into the steps, let me be direct. If your monthly expenses are currently eating every dollar you earn, the first job isn't investing, it's creating a gap, even a small one. $20 a month is a gap. A gap becomes a habit becomes a system. We'll talk about how to find that gap in the practical section. But I want you to know this video sees you, not just the people who already have money sitting around. Alright, let's run the steps. Step 1. Build a real emergency fund. Before you invest a single dollar, not $50, not $1, you need 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved in cash. Liquid, accessible, boring. This money lives in a high-yield savings account and it does not move. It's not for opportunities. It's not for a stock tip your coworker mentioned at lunch. It's for unexpected problems, job loss, medical bills, car repairs, the things that don't ask permission before they arrive. Here's why this matters more than most people realize. The single biggest reason people panic sell their investments isn't because they lost faith in the market, it's because they needed the money. Something broke, someone got sick, a paycheck got delayed, and because they had no financial cushion, they sold their investments at the worst possible moment, usually right at the bottom of a dip. An emergency fund doesn't just protect your cash, it protects your investments from your own life. Think about the last time something expensive and unexpected happened to you. Car issue, medical bill, home repair. Now imagine that happened the same month the stock market dropped 15%. Without an emergency fund, you're selling. With one, you're sitting still and watching the recovery happen. Step 2. Separate saving from investing in your head. This sounds simple. It isn't. Most people think of all their money as one pile. It's not. It's two buckets with completely different jobs. Bucket 1 is safety money. It doesn't move, it doesn't grow dramatically, and that's fine. That's its job. Bucket 2 is growth money. It fluctuates. Some months it goes up, some months it goes down. But over time, over years and decades, it builds. The moment you mentally separate these two buckets, the anxiety of watching your investments move drops dramatically. You stop checking your portfolio every day because you know that bucket isn't your safety net. Your safety net is in bucket 1 doing its boring, reliable job. And the crazy part is, this mental shift alone changes how people behave. Studies on investor behavior consistently show that people who mentally compartmentalize their money make better long-term decisions. They panic sell less. They contribute more consistently. They let compounding do its job instead of interrupting it. Step 3. Start small. I mean actually small. Not, I'll start when I have $500 small, $20 small, $50 small. Because here's what nobody tells beginners. The amount you start with matters far less than the habit you build. A lot of brokerage platforms, Fidelity, Schwab, even apps like Robinhood, let you start with as little as $1 today. Fractional shares, automatic contributions, no minimum balances. The system has never been more accessible. But most people wait until they feel ready, and ready never comes. Let me put it this way, waiting for the perfect moment to start investing is like waiting for the perfect moment to start exercising. The perfect moment is a myth. The best moment is now, even if now means $20 a month. Step 4. Keep it simple. This is where beginners almost always go wrong. They hear about investing and immediately start researching day trading, option strategies, crypto speculation, individual stock picks, and then they get overwhelmed, confused, or they lose money fast and quit entirely. The irony is that the simplest investing strategy consistently outperforms the complicated ones. Index funds. That's it. Index funds are funds that track the overall stock market, the S&P 500 for example, instead of trying to pick individual winning companies. When you buy an index fund, you're buying a tiny piece of hundreds of companies at once. Instant diversification, lower risk than individual stocks, long-term performance that even most professional fund managers can't beat consistently. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors in history, has said repeatedly that low-cost index funds are the right choice for most people, not as a beginner strategy, as a permanent strategy. That's not an accident. And here's the kicker. Index funds are boring. And boring is exactly what compounding needs to work. Compounding doesn't reward excitement. It rewards patience and consistency. Step 5. Be consistent. This is the step that actually creates wealth. Not the amount you invest, not the perfect fund you pick, the consistency. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Imagine you invest $300 every single month into a broad market index fund. The market averages 8% per year. After 25 years, you've got roughly $285,000. Sound familiar? Here's the part that makes people do a double take. You only contributed $90,000 of your own money. The remaining $195,000 came from growth. Almost $200,000 that you never earned, never saved, never worked for. It was created by time and compounding. That's the boulder cresting the hill. Once it starts rolling, the momentum builds on itself. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what if the market crashes right when I'm investing? Great question. Because market crashes are not anomalies, they're features. They've happened dozens of times in history, 2001, 2008, 2020, and every single time, the market eventually recovered and went on to new highs. Long-term investors don't just survive crashes. In a strange way, they benefit from them. Here's why. When the market drops 20%, your $300 monthly contribution buys 20% more shares than it would have at the peak. More shares at a lower price means stronger returns when the market recovers. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it's one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available to everyday people. Not hedge funds, not Wall Street insiders, you. But here's what most people don't realize about market crashes. The real damage isn't caused by the crash itself. It's caused by the panic response. The people who got hurt most in 2008 weren't the ones who held their investments. They were the ones who sold at the bottom and bought back in at the top. Fear is the most expensive financial mistake you can make. And this is exactly why the emergency fund and the two-bucket mental model aren't just nice-to-haves. They are the psychological infrastructure that lets you stay calm when everyone around you is losing their minds. Think about it this way. Imagine your portfolio drops 15% in October. That's uncomfortable. But if you know your bills are covered, your emergency fund is intact, and this money isn't needed for another 20 years, suddenly that 15% dip looks a lot less like a disaster and a lot more like a sale. A temporary sale on assets you plan to hold for decades. Alright, real talk, what stage are you currently in right now? Pure saving mode, or have you already made the move to investing? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how many people watching this are sitting on savings that have never been put to work. Now let's talk about finding the gap, because this is the section most personal finance videos skip entirely. If your monthly expenses leave you with almost nothing, the answer isn't to magically spend less on groceries or cut Netflix. The answer is to find your smallest possible investment gap and automate it. $20 a month, $50 a month. Set up an automatic transfer on payday before the money hits your checking account to a brokerage account. You won't miss what you never see. And over time, as income grows or expenses shift, you increase that automatic contribution. The goal in year one isn't to get rich. The goal is to rewire your financial identity from someone who saves to someone who also invests. Here's the emotional echo of what that shift actually feels like. It feels small at first. $20 feels like nothing. It feels like you're behind. It feels like the people on social media with their $50,000 portfolios started on a different planet. But then month 3 hits and you check your account and it's $65. And month 8 it's $420. And year 2 it's somewhere around $2,000 and the interest is showing up as a real number. And something changes. You stop feeling behind. You start feeling like a participant. You're in the game. And once you're in the game, the psychology shifts completely. And the crazy part is, that shift, that identity change from saver to investor, is worth more than any single stock pick or market timing call, because identity drives behavior, and behavior over time drives outcomes. Let me give you a quick comparison that makes this concrete. 2 people, both earn $55,000 a year. Both save diligently. Person A keeps everything in a savings account, earning 1%. Person B invests $200 a month in a broad index fund averaging 8% annually and keeps 3 months of expenses in savings. After 30 years, Person A has roughly $72,000 in savings. Person B has over $270,000 in investments plus their emergency cushion. Same income, same savings discipline. The only difference is where the money went after it was saved. That's not a small difference. That's retirement security versus financial stress at 65. Now, a word of warning before you run off and open 5 brokerage accounts. There's a mistake that trips up a lot of new investors right at the moment they're finally getting started. They invest money they might actually need soon. They skip the emergency fund step. They put their rent money into an index fund because it felt like a good month. And then 3 months later, something breaks, life happens, and they're forced to pull that money out, sometimes at a loss, sometimes with tax penalties, almost always at the worst time. Don't do this. The steps exist in this order for a reason. Emergency fund first, always. The investment account is not a backup savings account, it is growth money, and growth money needs time. Protect it by protecting your liquidity first. Here's the permission section. You don't need to be an expert to start. You don't need a financial advisor, a Bloomberg terminal, or a spreadsheet with 17 tabs. You can start with a simple brokerage account, 1 index fund, and an automatic monthly contribution. That's it. You can be wrong about a lot of things and still come out ahead if you start early and stay consistent. You're allowed to start before you feel ready. You're allowed to contribute small amounts while you figure out the bigger picture. You're allowed to keep most of your money in savings while you dip your toe in. The worst possible move is to do nothing because you're waiting to know more. Here's the final truth that most people eventually learn, usually later than they wish they had. Saving money gives you stability. Investing money gives you freedom. Stability is important, but freedom is what most people are actually after. The freedom to make choices. The freedom to say no to things that don't serve you. The freedom to retire on your own timeline, not the one your employer sets. And the earlier you combine saving and investing, not one or the other, both, the more powerful that future becomes. Start with the emergency fund. Separate your buckets mentally. Contribute small amounts consistently. Keep it simple with index funds. And give it time, because here's the thing about compound growth. It doesn't care how you feel about it. It just works. Month after month, year after year, whether you're watching it or not. The seeds you plant in your growth bucket today become the tree that shades your future. You just have to actually plant them. If this changed how you think about the gap between saving and investing, pass it along to someone who's still sitting on a savings account, wondering why it's not growing fast enough.